The evening was quiet in the little neighborhood. The sun had set, leaving the sky painted in soft shades of purple and gold. Streetlights flickered on, one by one, casting long shadows across the empty sidewalks. In the middle of the row of homes stood a small white house with a red front door. It looked warm and inviting. The kind of place where you'd expect laughter and the smell of dinner drifting out of the kitchen. But tonight, the house was unusually still. No laughter, no footsteps. Only a faint light glowing from an upstairs window. In the yard, a tricycle lay on its side, as if someone had been playing and left in a hurry. Inside that house, a 3-year-old boy named Ethan sat quietly, clutching a toy in one hand. His small yellow pajamas, dotted with tiny stars, seemed to glow in the dim light. He was far too young to understand the weight of silence, but he knew something wasn't right. And soon, he would do something no one expected. Ethan was small, but he was sharp for his age. He knew when Mummy usually came back from the kitchen, and when Daddy usually checked on him. But tonight, no one came. He shuffled across the living room floor, the carpet soft under his little feet. His toy fire truck sat on its side, forgotten. Instead, his eyes focused on the telephone lying on the couch. The phone looked heavy in his tiny hands, but Ethan remembered something he had seen on television. When people needed help, they pushed 3 numbers. With clumsy fingers, he pressed them one by one. 911. He didn't know exactly what it meant, only that it might bring someone. Someone who could fix the strange silence filling his home. Across town, in a quiet dispatch center, a phone line lit up. 911. What's your emergency? The operator asked in a calm voice. At first, there was only static. Then a tiny voice whispered, "Help. Mummy won't wake up." The operator straightened in her chair. She recognized the tone. It was the voice of a child, a very young child. She leaned closer, speaking softly. "Sweetheart, can you tell me your name?" Ethan. The boy answered, his words small and shaky. The operator's heart tightened. She typed quickly, signaling an urgent response. Officers were dispatched immediately. Stay on the phone with me. Ethan, can you tell me where you are? She asked gently. Ethan fumbled, looking around the room. He didn't know his address, but he described the red door, the tricycle, the White House, and that was enough. The night was calm, but the sudden streak of flashing lights broke the stillness. A police cruiser turned sharply onto Maple Street, tires crunching against the pavement. Inside the car sat 2 officers, Daniels and Rivera. Both had answered countless calls before, but this one was different. Dispatch had said it was a child alone. Daniels gripped the steering wheel firmly. 3 years old, maybe. That's what dispatch thinks, Rivera murmured, scanning the dark houses as they passed. Daniels nodded, jaw tight. Let's hope it's nothing serious. But if a toddler's calling 911, he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. As they approached, Rivera spotted at first the tricycle, tipped on its side under the street lamp. That's the house, she said quietly. The cruiser slowed. Both officers felt a sudden heaviness settle over them. Something was waiting inside that White House with the red door. The cruiser rolled to a stop. Daniels and Rivera stepped out, their boots crunching against the gravel driveway. The night air felt colder here, heavier somehow. The red door stood before them, shining faintly under the porch light. It was just another home in the suburbs. Yet, in the quiet, it seemed to hold secrets. Daniels motioned to Rivera. "Stay sharp," he whispered. They climbed the steps carefully, listening for sounds inside. No television, no footsteps, only silence. Rivera glanced at the tricycle again, the small wheels catching the glow of the streetlight. Her stomach turned. A child had called for help, and wherever that child was, they had to find him quickly. Daniels knocked firmly. "Police department, open up." No answer. He tried again, louder. The silence stretched, pressing against them. Then just faintly, they heard the soft cry of a little boy. The red door creaked slowly. And there he was. Ethan, a small boy, no taller than the doorknob, stood clutching a toy fire truck to his chest. His curly brown hair framed his round face, and his pajamas were rumpled from hours of worry. His wide eyes met the officers, and for a moment, the world seemed to pause. Rivera crouched down gently, softening her voice. Hey there, buddy. Are you Ethan? Asterisk, the little boy nodded. His lips trembled, but relief flickered in his eyes. Asterisk, Daniels bent closer. His voice steady but kind. Asterisk, you did the right thing calling us. Can you tell us what's wrong? Asterisk, Ethan's tiny hands tightened around the toy. His words came out broken, but heavy with meaning. Asterisk, Mummy won't wake up. Asterisk, the officers exchanged a glance, their hearts tightening. Without hesitation, Daniels pushed the door open wider. Asterisk, Ethan, can we come in? Rivera asked softly. Asterisk, the little boy nodded, slipping his tiny hand into hers. She felt the warmth of his palm, the trust of a child who had run out of options. Asterisk, inside the house, felt strange. The living room carried the normal mess of family life blocks scattered across the carpet, a blanket tossed on the couch. Yet, something was off. The silence was too thick. The air too still. Asterisk, Rivera kept Ethan close while Daniels scanned the rooms with sharp eyes. Every corner seemed to whisper a warning. Asterisk, where's your mummy, Ethan? Rivera asked gently. Asterisk, the boy pointed toward the hallway. His voice was barely a whisper. Asterisk, in there. Asterisk, the officers followed Ethan's tiny finger down the hall. Their steps slowed as they reached the last door. Asterisk, Daniels pushed it open carefully, and the sight before them made Rivera's breath catch. Asterisk, on the bed lay a young woman. Her face was pale, her chest rising only faintly with shallow breaths. One arm hung limp over the side of the mattress. Asterisk, on the nightstand, a small bottle of pills stood half empty. The label gleamed under the soft glow of the lamp. Asterisk, Rivera felt Ethan press against her leg, hiding his face. She stroked his hair, keeping her voice calm even as her own heart raced. Asterisk, Daniels. She whispered urgently. He was already moving, checking for a pulse, his voice steady. She's alive, but just barely. Asterisk, Rivera pulled Ethan closer, her voice trembling but gentle. Asterisk, you were so brave, Ethan. You saved your mummy's life tonight. Asterisk, Daniels leaned closer, pressing 2 fingers against the woman's neck. Relief flickered across his face. She's breathing, but barely. Asterisk, Rivera quickly raised her radio, her voice calm but urgent. Dispatch, we need an ambulance immediately. Possible overdose. Female, mid-30s, still breathing, unconscious. Asterisk, static crackled back in reply. Help was on the way. Asterisk, meanwhile, Ethan stood quietly in the doorway. His toy fire truck dangled in his hand, forgotten. His big brown eyes were locked on his mother, too young to understand what had happened, yet old enough to feel the fear that gripped the room. Asterisk, Rivera crouched down, meeting his gaze. She spoke softly, like a lullaby. Asterisk, Ethan, the doctors are coming. They're going to help your mummy. Asterisk. The little boy nodded slowly. His trust in her words was absolute. Asterisk, the distant sound of a siren grew louder, filling the night. A faint, red glow spilled through the window, pulsing against the walls like a heartbeat. Asterisk. Ethan's small hands clung tightly to Rivera's sleeve as the front door swung open. Paramedics moved swiftly inside, carrying equipment and a stretcher. Their presence brought both urgency and relief. Asterisk. Daniels stepped aside, guiding them toward the bedroom. Overdose. Still breathing. Pulse weak, he explained quickly. Asterisk. Rivera held Ethan close, whispering so only he could hear. These people are here to make your mummy better. The boy buried his face against her, trembling. In the bedroom, the paramedics worked quickly, voices calm but firm. Oxygen mask. Vitals check. For prepared, the room filled with the sounds of controlled chaos. Asterisk. And in the middle of it all, little voice whispered, almost like a prayer. Asterisk. Please help mommy. Asterisk. The stretcher's wheels squeaked softly as the paramedics lifted the young woman from the bed. Her arm dangled for a moment, before being gently tucked under the blanket. Asterisk. Ethan peeked over Rivera's shoulder, his eyes wide with both fear and hope. His mother looked so small, so still. Yet her breaths seemed stronger now. Asterisk. Daniels walked beside the stretcher, steady and watchful, while Rivera kept her arms around Ethan. She could feel his tiny heartbeat racing against her chest. Asterisk. The paramedics moved with practiced calm, guiding the stretcher through the narrow hallway and toward the waiting ambulance. Asterisk. Ethan's voice broke the silence. Can I come? He asked softly. Asterisk. Rivera kissed the top of his curly head. We'll make sure you're safe, Ethan, I promise. And with those words, the boy finally allowed himself a shaky sigh of relief. Outside, the The night had changed. The quiet street was now painted in streaks of red and blue. The ambulance lights cutting through the dark. Neighbors peeked from behind curtains, whispers stirring in the stillness. But their eyes softened when they saw the small child in Rivera's arms. Ethan held onto her tightly, watching as the stretcher rolled into the ambulance. His toy fire truck was pressed between them, clutched like a shield against the unknown. Daniels placed a hand on Rivera's shoulder. They'll take her to St. Mary's. She's stable enough now. Rivera nodded, her eyes never leaving the little boy's face. He shouldn't be alone tonight. Daniels agreed quietly. We'll figure it out. One step at a time. The ambulance doors closed. With a soft thud, then, with a roar of its engine, it pulled away into the night. The cruiser felt warmer than the night air, its interior glowing faintly under the dashboard lights. Ethan sat in the back seat, a soft police blanket wrapped around his shoulders. His fire truck rested in his lap, wheels turning slowly in his small hands. Rivera turned in her seat, her voice calm and soothing. Ethan, we're going to the station for a little while, okay? Just until we make sure you have someone to stay with. The boy's eyes lifted to hers, uncertain. Will Mummy be okay? Daniels, driving steadily, answered in a gentle tone. The doctors will take care of her. She's going to get the help she needs. Ethan nodded, though his little fingers tightened around his toy. His world had shifted tonight, but for the first time, he wasn't facing it alone. The station's family room was quiet, designed for moments like these. A couch sat against the wall, and a table held a stack of coloring books and crayons. Ethan sat at the table, carefully, scribbling with a red crayon. His drawing showed a fire truck, just like the toy beside him. Rivera sat nearby, keeping him company, her presence calm and steady. Across the room. Daniels spoke in low tones with a social worker. They discussed temporary arrangements, phone calls to relatives, and the long road ahead. But for now, the focus was on Ethan. Rivera smiled softly as the boy held up his drawing. Look, it's my truck, he said proudly. She nodded, her eyes warm. That's perfect. Ethan, you're really brave. You know, you saved your mummy's life tonight. The boy's face lit up, not fully understanding the weight of her words, but feeling the comfort in her tone. As the long night gave way to dawn, soft rays of sunlight crept through the station windows. The world outside was waking, but inside the family room, peace had finally settled. Ethan slept soundly on the couch, curled beneath a small police blanket. His fire truck rested safely at his side, a guardian of his dreams. Rivera stood nearby, her eyes soft with quiet relief. Daniels joined her, his voice low. He's a tough little guy. Rivera nodded. Stronger than most adults I know. For a moment, they both stood in silence, watching the boy who had done the unthinkable dialed for help when no one else could. In that stillness, one truth glowed brighter than the sunrise outside. Sometimes, the smallest voices carry the greatest courage. And because of Ethan's brave call, his mother had been given another chance at life.